Thank you. I'd like to recognize Mr. Bejarano with us today from the city of Safford. Thank you for joining us. Could we get a motion to approve our minutes of our regular meeting and work session held on January 5th, 2026?
Chairman Mack, I'm pleased to make a motion or to move that we approve the minutes of the meeting and work sessions from January 5th.
And I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Sorry, Hannah, is anybody online? Welcome to those online. Could we get a motion to approve our demands and handwritten warrants?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. We'll now turn the time over to Sheriff Allred. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's everybody doing today?
Morning.
Good. So yeah, we have a couple of items today on the agenda. The first one is we would like to ask for an out-of-state approval for travel for April Wilcoxon, who runs our dispatch center for us, Megan, who is our number 2 lady at our dispatch center, Leonard Jarris, who works inside of our detention facility, who uses the Spillman system daily, and Allison Mattias, of course, who we all know who she is, who dissects lots of things for us. We're asking for them to be able to attend the Motorola Summit, the Spillman training. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida. And yeah, this won't be a thing where they do a lot of like vacation lounging around any beaches or nothing like that. The Spillman training is a serious thing for us. It's a system that we use, that all of our agencies use in our valley. And it keeps us in our law enforcement where we need to be. And it's an amazing system. But it's yearly update training, and that's something that needs to happen.
Great. Questions or concerns from the board?
None here.
No, Mr. Chairman, I just note that it is a significant cost, about $2,500 per person with airfare and motel, but the training, you got to sharpen a saw and have the training. It'd be nice if Spillman would hold it somewhere in the middle of the United States rather than all the way out in the.
They have done it in Salt Lake a few times.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely support the need for that and the travel. Just note that it is a little pricey. So I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve the request for out-of-state travel for our 4 employees for Spillman training in Florida.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
So my next one is it's regarding local border support from DPS, and it's in the amount of $306,542.32. And it's like I said, it's border support. It's money that come to us that's funneled through DPS that comes to us. And with those funds right there, our plan is to purchase 4 patrol vehicles for our county, which has been really, really good. We've been able to, with all the grants and different fundings, things like that, we've been able to pretty well take care of our fleet with a lot of that stuff. Not a lot of that's had to come out of general funds. So we're asking for that, for approval for that money that we can purchase 4 vehicles.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate you guys for chasing that money and helping out the department. Any questions from the board?
I'll just reiterate what you just said, chasing that money. You guys are relentless on that and doing a great job. Appreciate it very much. It's always good to have good, reliable vehicles. It's much needed, and now we just need to put somebody in them, huh? So
yes,
that's
totally
what we need to do. But no, I have no problem with this.
I appreciate the paperwork and the follow through and the reports, not only to generate the grant, but also to support it. And so I'd make a motion that we do approve receipt of $306,542 in grant money for the local border support from DPS for our county.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank
Motion
you,
passes.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate you. We will now hear from Polly Merriman with the Recorder's Office. Good morning, Polly.
Morning.
So I'm here to get approval to renew the recording computerized system maintenance agreement with Salls Creek Engineering. It's the company that provides our recording services and also includes our public access to recording notification system on our website.
Okay.
No questions for me.
No, and that was about a little under $200 a month increase. Is that, did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, so it's $190 a month increase. I feel like it has a lot to do with he now has to maintain that public notification system. He provided that program to us October 2023, compensated by the state funding to create the program, but since then he has maintained it without adding costs to me during our previous contract. So
Sure. And I'm in favor. Of course, it's proprietary. It's there's good things and bad things about it. My concern is, as we approve this, is being sounds like a relatively small organization or business, just looking forward to, are we becoming so dependent on a sole source small businessman or businesswoman that we end up in the future, having to pivot and scramble, it's something that's not a more uniformly utilized.
so I am one of 6 counties that utilize Salls Creek.
Okay.
He has informed us that when he did decide to retire, he would try to sell his program. If it wasn't purchased, he would definitely give us at least 1 year's time to acquire another system. And of course, there's going to be probably an substantial amount of money that is going to be involved in switching. I have avoided it. I'm very, very happy with Salls Creek.
Okay.
I get the personal service that you probably can't get from other engineering companies, and I think it'll be a very sad day when Bruce decides to hang up that hat.
So we'll ride the horse until it can't go
Yeah.
anymore. Okay.
Yes, I am.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the renewing of the recording computerized system as written.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank
Polly.
you.
Now hear from our county engineer, Eric Engel. Good morning, Eric.
Morning. Okay, this is for an approval to ratify a quitclaim deed donation for 8th Avenue right-of-way from Wesley Post.
It's just a ratification, right?
Yeah, he was trying to get his land split, sold off, and so
Okay.
it's something we asked for. It was on a section line, so that's what we
Always
asked
want
for.
right away.
Yeah.
No other discussion. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this quitclaim deed from Leslie Post for 8th Avenue.
Chairman, I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Eric. Next on our agenda was to approve a event liquor license. We had some changes on it, so we're actually gonna table that until our next meeting. So we will turn the time over to Cindy Norris Blake with our HR department, and this one's actually gonna go a little bit out of order. We're gonna start on the bottom, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Okay.
Chairman, if we can go back to the liquor license application, as we table that, is that going to be tabled till our next meeting? And will that still give them time to comply with the Department of Liquor and get everything in order? Okay, very
We
good.
should be fine.
So we'll table it till the very next meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'll just provide a little bit of a background about the request for the Highway Department, if that's okay.
You bet.
In February of 2022, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration changed the way that CDL training was supposed to happen. It needed to be provided by a third-party training provider on their registry. So that changed the way we were able to hire our CDL operators. We've had much difficulty over the last 4 years being able to recruit and retain those employees. We have a CDL payback agreement that we enter in with applicants who are hired that do not have a CDL license, but they get their permit within 30 days, then start work. We pay their tuition to attend Eastern Arizona College, and then they are supposed to stay employed with Graham County for a certain amount of time. Otherwise, they have to reimburse the county that cost. So in 2025, for various reasons, we were down 9 employees. They left due to either health conditions, better opportunities, and you know that our area, we're in a unique situation where we have the mine, and their equipment operators do not require a CDL license, and they can actually go to the mine and make more money. So we've lost a lot of people with that situation as well. So what we're proposing is to create a Highway Operations Technician 1 position that would just be a trainee for those applicants that are hired that need to get their CDL training and go through the college. So I'm just going to go through, and as mentioned, it is out of order on the agenda, but the first request is approval to create a Highway Operations Technician 1 trainee position set at a range 17, step 1, which is our current Highway Operations Technician 2 salary. And I would entertain any questions during this long list of proposals.
Okay. I think it's great we're doing this, honestly. I feel like our highway department's been short-staffed, and I think this will help us definitely get better quality people. We have great people now, but like you said, competing with the mines it's pretty tough. So hopefully this will help us get some of the quality people that don't want to work in the mine, and they'll come join on with the county.
Definitely.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question. I would just would note, though, that for those departments who are asking for reclasses and raises for their employees, this is kind of irregular for us to do it mid-year rather than as we put the budget together. But it's time. It's of the essence because we're down to 1 crew because of the shortage of employees with the criteria that we have for their hiring and their screening. So we're down to 1 crew, and we are only, I would say, halfway. We're just 50% efficient with 1 crew. And so for those people who are saying, why not us? The combination of market, comparable costs, competition in the market for these employees who are trained. It requires it, but it is unusual. We have done this for the Sheriff's Department before when we reclassed mid-year for some of their supervisors, and so we have to be we have to compete. And so but we are not blind to the needs and the equity to the other employees.
I think it's a necessary step we have to take. Highway Department's been down for several months. We need to be able to get them the help they need and get these employees out there quicker. I think it's just something that needs to be done. I support it very much.
We got a motion?
Go ahead and make a motion to approve to create a Highway Operations Technician 1 trainee set at range 17, step 1.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
The next one is the approval of a salary reclassification for the highway operations technicians from a range 17 to a range 18.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next one's approval of a salary reclassification from highway operations technician 3 from a range 18 to a range 19.
So moved.
And I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Approval of a salary reclassification for the equipment mechanic 2 position from a range 17 to a range 18.
I'll move that we go ahead and reclassify the equipment mechanic 2 position from 17 to 18.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Approval of a salary reclassification for the equipment mechanic 3 position from a range 18 to a range 19.
So moved.
And I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Approval of a salary reclassification for the sign technician position from a range 18 to a range 19.
I'll move that we go ahead and reclassify the sign technician from 18 to range 19.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the last one is the approval of a salary reclassification for the highway department deputy director position from an unclassified range J to an unclassified range P.
Make a motion to reclassify.
And I'm pleased to second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you all for your support.
Thank you. All right. Next, we will take an opportunity for the board and the county manager to present a brief summary of current events. And we will start with Manager Welker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just maybe if I could add on a little bit to what we did. First of all, thank you to the board. Thank you to Julie and Cindy for all the work that they put into that. The annual cost increase for those moves is $68,000 a year. Our highway department is funded out of a special revenue, so that is not from the general fund. That is all from our HERF money, which is Highway User Revenue Fund, which is a restricted fund that can only be used for roads. But thank you again for approving that. The irony for the county is that for years we had the manpower but couldn't quite keep up on the road designs and the bridge designs and the other designs, and that's flipped a little bit. Our engineering department's been very quick and efficient, and now we have projects that are designed and lined up and ready to go, and now we need people. So this, I believe also that this will help significantly to get our crews back up and we can finish these projects in-house, which is something that we've touted, as well as doing as much in-house as possible, and we certainly have the talent to do it and the leadership to do it. So thank you again for your support on that. Just some other projects I'd like to provide a little bit of an update on. Our Main Street building remodel for our new county attorney's office. They've done a lot of the demo work. They're cutting concrete to put in underground electric and Cat 6. They're scraping down that popcorn ceiling, and they have some walls all lined out, and they should be starting to frame this week. So we're seeing some pretty good progress in there. On the fairgrounds, our master plan, our consultant on that hit their deadline, and they were able to get us plans last week. We have 100% construction plans on the landscape side. So me, Eric, Johnny, and Trey and Jim are reviewing those this week. Excuse me, and we'll be meeting next week to go over those. We still are waiting on the master water line, and we'll hopefully have that soon as well. That will accompany those plans. We hope to get some news back from SEGO on our CDBG projects, which is sidewalks out at the fairgrounds, which fits perfectly into this master plan fairgrounds. So the plan there is, again, designing those sidewalks in-house. Bowman did some groundwork for us, laid them out, and we're going to get those drawings from them and then finish those up and be able to bid those out and hopefully be building those sidewalks while we're bidding out the landscaping and water line plans. So we're working on that. Our Armory Road Fairground sign, that's our stagnant sign that we no longer use because we have the digital sign. We received word from Summit West Signs that that installation will be on February 16th. So we're happy to get a date on that. We're also working on our Central Park plans. We're probably 95% done with those. We're just getting a little help on the 24-foot by 24-foot Ramada. And then we're hopefully going to be going out to bid on that here in the next week or two. The Weech property that we own here across the street, the commercial property came to us a few weeks ago. We're in the process of cleaning that up. In the meantime, while we're cleaning that up and getting ready to get a lease on the building and the entire property, the business that has the tractors is renting just the dirt from us, the land from us right now for $500 a month, and they are current on their payments. So we're working with Matt and his crew. They said it'll take them about 2 months to get that cleaned out. Lastly, just want to report on dispatch. One of the major budget items that we had in this budget was to do some upgrades in our dispatch center, and all of those are underway. They are big projects. I want to thank McCoy, Allison, April, Jeff, Sheriff. It takes a lot of work to get these up and going. The first one is our AI paging system, which is an automatic paging once we receive a call for a fire or a first responder EMS, as the dispatcher is typing in that event. And as soon as they're done typing it in, our firefighters and EMS crews will get, those that have pagers will get a digital voice page. We've heard that digital voice page. It comes in really nicely, very clear. And there's also an app that goes with it. So they'll all be receiving a text through the app and that AI page. We're in test mode with that right now with a very small group of us, but we're getting very close to be able to go more into a live mode on there. The other one is the CAD mapping. That's where our dispatch center can identify where all of our officers are and be able to see them on a CAD map. That's in the process. And then we just had a kickoff meeting for the last one, and that is for what the board approved last week for our RAVE system, also called our Rapid Deploy. So that'll send out different. Right now it's the Omni Alert, but this will be traded out for that RAVE system. So it'll be very similar. Right now we're organizing the different groups. When we went in there on the Omni Alert system, we had 52 different groups, which is way too many. So we're reorganizing the groups right now, figuring out what nature or what type of call will go to each of those groups. So we're doing that internally. Then we'll be reaching out to Safford, Thatcher, Pima, and all the fire departments, the other agencies, to make sure everyone's happy with the groups and the natures that we've created on that. So we're definitely moving on those dispatch software projects, and we hope to be kicking some of those out and finishing up there in the near future. That's my report for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Manager Walker. Turn the time over to Vice Chairman David.
Thank you. I had a question, Manager. That is the AI paging with the fire. Are we also at the same time doing Thatcher and Pima and Fort Thomas?
Yes, that's yes, Mr. or Vice Chairman. That's for all the fire departments.
Okay, great. Been a busy couple weeks. Started out a little slow and then picked up steam. There was a Substance Abuse Coalition meeting on the 6th, Lions Club, where we discussed the America 250 and the Lions Club's participation in that. and they're procuring the fireworks and working with us. That Friday there was the 9th County Supervisors Association a policy forum where we legislative policy review pending, and then either approve or disapprove as a group. I would note that our county, from what I can gather, is the only county where, even though that I'm the only voting member of that from our county, I'm joined each week by our supervisors and our county manager, and so we've got people are very well aware of what's going on, and it's not just me trying to guess what everyone else wants. We are able to support and oppose together, and appreciate their interest and their efforts. The 12th had the privilege, because of the County Supervisors Association, the president of, not the president, but the Speaker of the House provided tickets, and I was able to be in the gallery for the State of the State address, travel down, and that was a good experience. Got a kind of a preview on the governor's budget, and then also a position statement from the Senate Speaker, or the Senate President. And then that same day I met with the San Carlos Apache Tribe, their housing committee, regarding an upcoming point in time count for the homeless persons. We're trying to get a better idea to benefit them and to benefit funding for us by eliminating some of the underreporting. And then that evening was able to be back in time to catch most of the Safford City Council meeting. 14th, I attended remotely Arizona New Mexico Coalition of Counties. We're discussing a number of water and endangered species issues, and grazing rights, and changes with the waters of the U.S. and also with the National Environmental Policy Act, the permitting. So that's a really good group, very effective, and has got some good connections, and they're making progress in protecting property rights for outdoorsmen, hunters, farmers, ranchers, and property owners. And later that day, the local committee to end homelessness had a coordination meeting, and then we met as a group to visit with SEGO and for a comprehensive economic development discussion. I would note that Dustin, our manager, has sent out a survey questions from SEGO for economic development. He sent that out for all the county employees. Would encourage you to encourage your employees to look that up, fill it out. It's right now we've had 8 people respond as of the last meeting, and we need about 120 in order to get any kind of a representative sampling. So it encourages you to do that. And then on the 15th, we met again, not as a board, but attended the ADOT listening tour, where they're talking about what we'd like to see in our county as far as transportation and what ADOT process improvements are needed, and as well as projects. And then later that day, there was a mental health webinar, solid waste rulemaking for our transfer sites for our trash. And then this Friday again, we all met for an LPC meeting. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Supervisor Howard?
Yeah, I attended my regular monthly Gila Valley Irrigation District meeting. This year is going to be quite a year for water for our local farmers, and they're trying to figure out how, and they're going to plant their crops, where the water's coming from, and if we don't get some snowpack, they will be in a great deal of economic danger. But also wanted to say the LPC meetings, I appreciate Paul for representing on that. He does a great job. And Clay and I and Dustin listen in, but we're definitely all a team, and we are up on what's going on down at the state. The ADOT listening tour was also a great opportunity for a lot of elected officials and different organizations, police organizations, to come and give our input on problems on our transportation throughout the valley. I think we'll see where it goes. It was a good opportunity. There's a lot of great ideas that come down in that meeting. And then finally, I got a great opportunity to go tour the new Burger King Whopper facility. So that was a nice little tour down there. They've done a fantastic job. With all joking aside, it was fun to go do. With that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Howard. I attended a lot of the same things that they did, and so I won't bore you with that. We'll go ahead and move on to our public hearing. We'll close our regular meeting and go into a public hearing. Turn the time over to Steve McGoy. Thank you for being here today, Steve, and I know we have Shauna Coleman here today that will want to speak. And I just want to remind anybody else that's here to speak, we have 3 minutes and we have a timer up here, so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're here to continue a tabled rezoning request from your previous meeting. Rezone 943-25, the parcel number 102-43034. Request was made to rezone from A, general land use, to commercial general. Applicant is Bloomfield Companies. The site address 1736 South Monteith Lane. This is north of Highway 70 and west of Monteith, the northernmost property on that piece of street besides the farm field. I guess this was tabled for some questions that weren't answerable last time, but hopefully we've got those answers today. But what I'd like is if the applicant would like to speak and tell us what his intentions are, we'll start there. And if you guys have questions, ask them of him. And then anyone who wants to speak in opposition will field their questions, and then I'll try to answer anything that doesn't get. So if you want to come up and let the board know what your intentions are, come up and let them know your address and your name, please, so it's on the record.
Hello, my name is Dallas Davis. I'm the owner of Bloomfield Companies. My address is 580 North, 1276 West. I live in Pima, Arizona. The address that was already stated here, 1736 South Monteith Lane, we've been working on for a little while to get rezoned. This property had been used under a special permit previously, which had expired, and I believe the customer that was there was Frito-Lay. It's been owned by Bloomfield Companies for some time. Has functioned primarily as just the secondary storage area. We have not used this building much in the past. And our primary operations through Bloomfield Companies, there has been a separation, which may be kind of confusing to some people. The company itself went through a split this year, and I own the portion of what used to be Velocity Builders, that is Bloomfield Companies, and our primary operation is up in the mine in the Freeport area. We remodel homes up there. And so we use this area, or would use this area as kind of an overflow training area. Primarily there is a building on this property, a shed or barn, if you will, and it has 2 bays. One of those bays we intend to just put a conference center area in there. We, as you can imagine, go through a lot of training every month to be able to operate up there, and most of that training is not very exciting. It's sitting at the table and listening to an instructor, and we need an area that we could do that closer to where some of our employees live down here, so that we could perform that training on a Friday and not require them to drive all the way up to Morenci for those employees that live down here. Outside of that, we don't have a really well-defined plan with the property, most likely would just remain as a storage area for our equipment and things like that. And I know there's been some concerns about, traffic flow and things in that area. We're not a large company. We don't intend to run many vehicles down that street. I also know that there's been a concern over an easement in the area, and we have done some research on that. I'm sure some details may be shared to you about that. I'm not aware of any northern or southern easement that crosses that property, but there are certainly easements along the east and the west side where the road and apparently an alley exist. We did consult with the title company on that, and that was what we've been able to find on our research, and that information was shared with Mark this month. So, any questions for me?
I have a couple. Have you been using this property over the past year or since you purchased for anything?
So in the last year, we've stored a few things inside the building. We've cleaned up the property, made sure that we're keeping the weeds down and those kind of things, but we really haven't used it. We've been so busy, honestly, we haven't had an opportunity to do anything there, and this was kind of the first step in that. I want to make sure that if we are going to use the facility for our commercial purposes, I want to make sure we do that appropriately and that we're not, putting something there or doing something there that doesn't fall in line with what it should.
And how many employees would be going there?
So we currently have about 40 employees as a company, but if we do a training there, usually those trainings are somewhere between 10 to 20 people that might show up for that, and we do have ample parking to suffice that in that area.
So you're referring to like MSHA training, site-specific training mostly for the mines. So I mean, that's something that you either do when you hire new employees or once a year for an annual refresher, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that you're not going to have 40 people there every single week.
No. And I don't want to mislead and say that that's the only thing that we would ever use it for. We have not identified a purpose outside of that, though, and it's never in our company been used necessarily for a purpose outside of that. But the size and the location of this property obviously would limit its ability to be used commercially. It's not large enough to run a storage facility or anything like that. It essentially is a shop, and potentially, if permits were pulled, we would build another building there, maybe set another office there, something like that. But we have not identified that purpose yet, nor do we have plans to move forward in anything like that.
Okay. I had some questions about the easement. So going back to my discussion with Manager Welker, the easement on that alley to the west there was actually a street that comes in. Can you show us that, Manager Welker?
Might want to enlarge that if you.
Yeah, if I'm understanding right, there's not a recorded easement to the south. The easement comes in. Can you scroll up? A little bit more. And then zoom in. Yeah, right in the middle of that.
Thank you.
So wasn't it determined that the easement was, or that street that goes through right there was actually the access to the alley behind the houses? Yeah.
Sorry, that is part of the original subdivision plat. That would be a future road going that way. There is from what we found, there is an easement back here. Most people are coming through here to access that easement.
Okay.
But I'll defer to Dallas to show what kind of easements he found around here, because I don't believe we found any.
So the only thing that I could see is these are, and in the discussion that I've had, I don't know if these are active easements. The tricky thing with this is that as you look at, I'll come back to Mike. And I I don't know why this happens. Maybe you as members of the boards would tell me more why this happens, but we find easements in a recorded document that somehow in a subsequent document disappear. And that's kind of what we found in this one, is that there are some recorded easements in some historical documents on this property. And these easements are just the east and west easements on this property for the alley and the road, but then they disappear in more recent documents. And that seems to be common through what we see in a lot of documents that are recorded. But what I saw in the historical record is that there, I believe it's an easement that runs along the western aspect of the property. There's an easement that was itself. That was properties and their access points were initially established. But outside of that, I did not find any presence of a northern or southern easement that crosses this property in any of the historical data that we ran through.
So we haven't closed off any access, legal access easements to the alleyway then, right?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you see the pink on the screen, that's the subdivision that was platted, and that's the document that you have sitting in front of you, which does not include this property, and the easement on that subdivision is on the back of those running north and south. So we do not, in our recorded document, have any easements that run east and west at the bottom of that subdivision, or anything that we found that's been given to the county or to the public here or here. Nothing recorded that we were able to find. Eric, am I stating that correctly?
And does that easement, Dustin, does that continue south from the subdivision, south beyond the parcel in question?
Vice Chairman, the easement stops right here and goes up. So there's no easement.
So it's a dead end, and if you had a garbage truck, that they would have to back up. There's no turnaround. There's no continuity there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And my understanding that western easement, whatever does exist there, is a very narrow easement. It's not wide enough for a roadway. It truly is a narrow alley.
Okay. And my other question, this is legal, but just because a title company doesn't list, or in the event that they omit listing an easement, that doesn't necessarily extinguish the easement, does it?
Certainly. No, I wouldn't think so. In my consultation with that is that, there's in any of the language of these documents, it always defers back to whatever was present before may remain in effect. And so there, would be, that discussion, I guess, certainly if we were considering the removal of an easement that crossed this property, I would encourage further research on that, but there is no evidence that I could find documented anywhere that shows any kind of an easement that crosses this property.
Okay. And is there any value in us pursuing in the future a extension of that easement to all the way to US 70? Actually, yeah, it would be US 70. And that's just more of a hypothetical, but it just seems like to have an easement dead end, and it has very little utility for the existing neighbors. There's nowhere to go other than in the alley. It becomes a nuisance rather than a point of access or something where they can move things in and out of the back of their property.
Yeah, and there are some obstacles in that. There is a canal that runs along that easement line. There isn't, trying to remember from memory, but I don't know that there's a canal that crosses this way.
Okay. Well, that's really beyond the scope of our hearing right now, but just trying to get a lay of the land and understanding, and so.
Yes.
I don't have any other questions, thanks.
Well, thank you for your time. I know you guys have spent quite a little bit on this, and I do certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Ms. Coleman, would you like to speak?
And Chairman, as she's coming up, I would note that we have, Ms. Coleman, we received the letters the board did from Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Pettit, or Pettit, as well as yourself, since we last visited.
Good morning, gentlemen of the board. My name is LaShawna Coleman. I'm currently residing at 1697 South Monteith Lane. My property is located across the street from what Bloomfield Properties owns, the parcel. I have some questions and a few things I'll start with. So in regards to the easement, I am 55 years old, and I'm an original inhabitant of that neighborhood. I grew up there. Mr. Gonzalez has lived there since 1971. That's over 50 years. Marcia Pettit is fairly new. These are the homes that would primarily be affected by a rezone. And so those are the neighbors that I spoke to. I didn't really go any further, and most of them, wouldn't have time. I couldn't catch them because they were doing other things or at work or whichever, or what have you. As to the alleyway easement, historically, the easement that would be located at Mr. Gonzalez's property.
If you want to use that, you can.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez's property here. That would be his fence line here. So historically, this was open, and legally, an easement has to be open, hostile, and notoriously used as a pass-through area, or where somebody could walk through or put a vehicle down through there. Now this is an alleyway easement. This is not a street, so it probably would be narrower than a street easement. That's not what the concern was, that this was a street easement. So as to the dead end, I have perceived on numerous occasions here that city vehicles, maintenance operation vehicles, travel this easement. They travel it to trim this tree here and to maintain power lines. Mr. Gonzalez recently had a power line knocked down, and they had to use this alleyway. Now, as previously stated, one would have to travel in reverse all the way back down this alleyway here. And I believe that was 2.4 miles or something, that when I had asked before, or it's a bit of a distance to be backing up. And then that poses a danger to, maybe someone running off into the canal area, or just, it's a hazard. It would present a hazard to be backing down this alleyway easement here. So as I stated, the easement has been historically open, hostile, and notorious for usage of that. And just because, as Mr. David stated, it may have been omitted, the easement from title documents and such. But that doesn't negate the presence of an easement, at least, historically. The easement has always been there. It is now fenced off. It's fenced off. It's been fenced off. There's a fence here in this area that blocks all of that. Here and here, or to some extent. So moving on, I would ask what type of equipment is intended to be stored on this property? And because there's no identified purpose, Mr. Davis hasn't identified a purpose for use of the property. Well, what happens when this changes after it's been zoned to commercial? I mean, there's no guarantee that, this intended use for storage of equipment will not eventually evolve into something that would become a nuisance. There is no other commercial business on that street. And all of these homes have distance between the homes. There's distance, right? So here, this parcel has there's an abutment against Mr. Gonzalez's fence here. So a commercial business here you would have abutted against a residential property with there's no relief. There's nothing here to relieve Mr. Gonzalez of any noise or unsightly, and if you put up a block fence, that would obstruct Mr. Gonzalez's view to the mountain. It's just, the little things that make a home where people would choose to reside. It's also, it's just it is what it is. I had an opportunity to take a business course, to enroll in college and to take a business course. And the first thing is the priority is location, location, location for a business. I don't see that any one of you or anyone here sitting here would like to have a commercial property abutted against your residential property where you have the right to quiet use and enjoyment. Now, and if you say that, okay, well, the business would be operated from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m., you would call that a buffer. But in this instance here, what that is essentially dictating to the homeowner that they will have to get up out of their bed at 4 a.m. because business operations are underway. And then that would only mean that the residents of that neighborhood would have quiet enjoyment of their residential homes from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. It just doesn't seem like a good proposition or a good place to be in, to have a residential home when you can't enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy that. That's 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. That's just somewhere to go and sleep.
Yeah.
That's what that would be. And so, and then on to like the taxes, and because now you would have a residential area that contains a commercial business of any kind, now we're getting into property taxes and property values, which a residential neighborhood is just that. It's residential, and people purchase residential homes for reasons.
Yeah.
So,
Ms. Coleman, I don't want to cut you off,
yeah,
but
that's fine. I
your
mean,
3
it's just-
minutes is up, but I would like to ask the board if they have any questions for you while you're up there.
I thank you for your presentation. One of my considerations was to try to establish a quiet period, but it doesn't sound like that is something that you would have any interest in. It sounds more like it's an all or nothing that you'd like, rather than stipulations in the event that we approve the rezone.
I mean, I heard what you said at the last meeting.
Right.
Around, business operations and so on. And even if it was 6 a.m. or, you would still The commercial business then would, in my opinion, then would dictate the character and nature of a residential neighborhood. This is what I'm saying. It's just, that's what this would be, allowing a commercial business to dictate the character of a residential neighborhood.
You do realize that everything around that is commercial property, right?
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. And this here, can we move it more toward the highway? So this is not, this is a different type of, commercial. This isn't constant noise, or is it? It's not something that creates a
That's actually heavier commercial zoned property than
we don't,
what they're asking for. They could put in manufacturing or anything right there if they chose to.
this is just the tractor comes and they're not loud or anything like that. This is not, it's the character and nature. Cotton and being planted there, and a tractor that comes every now and then, and that's not necessarily a huge.
No, and that's not what I'm saying. It's not right now, but they could put buildings there. They could put any kind of manufacturing there because it's already zoned.
Sure, and then there would still be, they would still have to maybe put up a block fence on the backside here,
Okay.
potentially, because that would be, from my reading, it would be something that would be necessary to create a buffer. Would be a block fence, would be necessary for them to erect,
Okay.
to put up here.
Does the board have any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Here's,
Yeah.
And again, the use of that property was unremarkable in that neighborhood. There wasn't any equipment stored there. There wasn't any noise. There wasn't any high traffic. There was minimal presence there with Frito-Lay, who was under a permit. I would, like I said, I'm an original resident of this neighborhood, 55 years. The truck from Frito-Lay, I said previously, Mr. Maynard was my friend.
Yeah.
I'd go over and get chips from him, and there was nothing, it was not intrusive.
Yeah.
The little Frito-Lay van would pull up and back in there. Mr. Maynard would load his chips into his van and he would leave. And every now and then we might have seen a semi to come to replenish the warehouse.
Yeah.
It was unremarkable. There was not any intrusive presence there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, unless you have questions that I can answer. I did happen to be part of the move to there for Mr. Merrill. Mariner moved there while I was his newspaper carrier from Relation Street to there, and I'm going to tell you that was either 1977 or 78, probably.
Wow.
From the letters I received and from the last conversations we had on this issue, traffic seemed to be the big issue and speeding was a big issue. I have not heard that once today about speeding. We've looked at the traffic studies reports as well. From what I'm hearing, the traffic will not be increased to a dramatic amount more of a traffic. The speeding is a whole different issue than the zoning. So them two issues are two different things in my mind. that's a whole different ball of wax, is controlling the traffic and speeding. No matter what happens in the future, traffic is going to increase on that road one way or another. It's just the way the game works. Growth happens, traffic goes, people speed. That's a whole different ball of wax. So that was my thoughts on this thing.
You have anything?
Sure.
What's that?
It's up to the chair. It's up to the chairman there.
Yeah, I can give you just a minute. We're just going very long already. Go ahead.
I would just like to state that, yes, growth happens. However, the traffic and in relation to growth, it is still a residential area. And the speed limit is still should be 25 miles per hour. I'm not sure what you would have or what we would have to do to have this looked at, but I will say that I was trying to turn into my driveway just the other day, and I had a vehicle running up my bumper because they were traveling over the speed limit, the recommended speed limit. I've also been standing out there, and as we know, this is about 2 feet, and I have to set my garbage pail out on this road. Well, somebody would come driving down there about 50 miles an hour while I'm out there with my garbage barrel, and he just kept going like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. He did, I stared him down enough where he did take the other lane, but that had to resulted in him moving into oncoming traffic lane for him to circumvent me putting my trash barrel out on a curb.
Okay.
So it is an issue. It's 25 miles an hour. It's a residential area.
Okay. Thank you. That's something we probably should look at.
Well, I have a couple comments with a traffic engineering background. The speed limit is set based on what they call the 80th percentile, which is you take the 80% of the you count the speed of the traffic, and the 80% of the traffic, the speed that they travel, is the recommended posted speed. But that fails when in school zones and some areas, and so and also we've done a traffic study, to get a speed study, and but that's just a snapshot. That doesn't. There are outliers, and when you say that people are going extremely fast, it may not have been captured in the study, but that doesn't affect your credibility. That's just because it's a finite period of time. Yep. So as stated by our Supervisor Howard, talking about property rights, and I know this is also Chairman concerned, as I am, about the property rights and balancing the property rights versus the good of the the good for the greatest number of the public good. I am leaning strongly. In fact, I believe that because of the surrounding area, and we will be confronted with this issue from now on as our area urbanizes. We will see more and more conflicts, and we see buffers that are needed. Neighborhoods don't think about purchasing buffers because they're retiring their own household debt. So there is having a buffer is ideal, but it's rarely available, and so I would lean toward making some stipulations or proposing some stipulations for the board, and my concerns are possibly visual screening, and that east and west fence that borders the property fence slats, something to screen the comings and goings. I wouldn't go so far as to saying a block fence, especially since Mr. Gonzalez doesn't want a block fence, but a visual screening. And then I still think you certainly wouldn't, it wouldn't tie your hands, but for future, if you sell the property, a stipulation that because it is in a neighborhood, that there be a quiet zone from say 8 at night till 4 in the morning, because you are a lot of time, if you're going to store things there, you've got to be up the hill by 7. And so I would think that 4 o'clock, even though that's early, that would still allow the property to be utilized. It wouldn't interfere. I don't think it would interfere. So I would propose for the board's consideration those 2 stipulations, and then just the awareness that the easement, if someone does more research and finds the easement and finds that the easement is not extinguished, then that is but that isn't a stipulation. That's just a statement of what may happen in the future. Is that may end up being an access around the end of the subdivision, but I'm not an attorney. So anyway, that's for your consideration, those 2 stipulations, board.
Well, to comment on your stipulations, Mrs. Coleman pretty much said that quiet zone really isn't going to satisfy her take on things. And also she said that the fence to prevent vision or didn't want to block Mr. Gonzalez's view. So it'd be hard for me to support that stipulation at this time after her comments. I can't see rezoning this is going to put any damper on that community whatsoever with the plans that he has. The traffic, again, I agree with her on a 25-mile-an-hour, but that's a whole different animal. That's not what we're discussing here today. We're talking about the rezone on this. So that's how I feel on that.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing. And do we have a motion on our public hearing?
So moved. You mean to close it? We don't have to have a motion, do we? To close our public hearing?
No, we don't need a motion to close the public hearing.
No.
I think we just need a motion on
the rezone
item at hand. Yep.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion to rezone 943-25. A request was made to rezone it general land use zone to CG commercial general zone. Go ahead and make a motion to rezone this property.
We have a second.
Without stipulations, Chairman, I won't provide a second.
Okay. I will second the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye, or
Aye.
nay.
Motion passes. Okay, do we have anybody for the call to the public? No, okay. That will adjourn our meeting. Thank you all for being here today.